Okay, so we're going to be factoring polynomials with 4 terms. Okay, this is called the grouping method. So it says it is possible to factor a polynomial with 4 terms by using a method called grouping. Follow the steps below to factor the given polynomial. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to cut this right in half right here. So like so. Okay, so out of this first half, what's a greatest common factor that we can take out? We can take an x squared out of both terms. So you say x squared, so x cubed divided by x squared is x, and then 7x squared divided by x squared is 7. Then we do the same thing with the second half. So what's a greatest common factor we can take out of that? We can take a 2 out. 2x divided by 2 is x, and 14 divided by 2 is 7. Okay, so notice that this is the same. So what's in parentheses needs to be the same in order to complete this method. Okay, so then from there, the 2 terms that we took out, we're going to put that together in one binomial. So we have x squared plus 2. And then that other binomial that is in parentheses, we just pull it down. We say x plus 7. So that's our 2 factors right there. If you can simplify further after that, then you would. On this one, we can't, but we'll check our answer here by distributing. So x squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 7 is 7x squared. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 7 is 14. So notice that we get the same thing that we started off with there whenever we distribute to check our answer. Okay, so on number 1 here. So first thing you want to do is cut it in half. So what's the greatest common factor that we can take out of the first 2 terms right here? Well, we can take an x squared out of both. So x cubed divided by x squared is x. 4x squared divided by x squared is 4. Okay, out of the second half, what can we take out of both an 8x and a 32? We can take an 8 out. 8x divided by 8 is x, and 32 divided by 8 is 4. Our parentheses are the same. Okay, so then we can put these 2 things together. So we have x squared plus 8, and we have x plus 4. Okay, if we can simplify further, we would, but on this one we cannot, so that's our final answer. Okay, on number 2 right here, same thing, we're gonna cut it in half. What can we take out of both of these terms? We can take an a squared out. A cubed divided by a squared is a. 2a squared divided by a squared is 2. Okay, out of the second half right here, what can we take out of both of those? We can take a 9 out. 9a divided by 9 is a, and 18 divided by 9 is 2. What's in parentheses is the same, so we can put these together. So we have a squared plus 9, and we have a plus 2. Okay, now if this was an a squared minus 9, we could do difference of squares with it, but it's not, so that's our final answer. Okay, number 3, we're gonna cut it in half. What can we take out of both of these terms here? We can take a w squared out. So w cubed divided by w squared is w. 5w squared divided by w squared is 5. What can we take out of both of these terms? Well, we can take a negative 8 out. Negative 8w divided by negative 8 is w. Negative 40 divided by negative 8 is 5. These 2 are the same, so we can put those together. So we have w squared minus 8, and we have w plus 5. And we cannot simplify further, so that's your final answer. Number 4, cut it in half. What can we take out of the first 2 terms? We can take a k squared out. K cubed divided by k squared is k. 2k squared divided by k squared is 2. What can we take out of these 2 right here? We can take a negative 5 out. Negative 5k divided by negative 5 is k. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is 2. These parentheses are the same, so we have k squared minus 5, We have k plus 2. We cannot simplify further, so that's your final answer. Number 5, cut it in half. What can we take out of both of these terms? We can take a p cubed out. P to the 5th divided by p cubed is p squared. Negative 6p cubed divided by p cubed is negative 6. Okay, out of this next part, we can take a negative 2 out. Negative 2p squared divided by negative 2 is p squared. 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. The parentheses are the same. So then we have p cubed minus 2 and p squared minus 6. We cannot simplify further, so that's the final answer. Cut in half. What can we take out of the first term? We can take a v squared out. So v cubed divided by v squared is v. Negative v squared divided by v squared is negative 1. Out of the second half here, we can take a negative 3 out. Negative 3v divided by negative 3 is v. 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. The parentheses are the same, and put those two together. So we have v squared minus 3. We have v minus 1. And that's our final answer. Okay, so flip over the paper on the other side. Okay, let's skip down to, let's see, let's look at number 13 real quick. So cut it in half. What can we take out of both terms here? We can take an a squared out of both of those. So a cubed divided by a squared is a squared b divided by a squared is b. And then out of the second half, what can we take out? We can take a b out of both of those. ab divided by b is a, b squared divided by b is b. So what's in parentheses is the same. So then we have a squared plus b, and we have a plus b. And that's our final answer. Okay, now down here, if we are rearranging terms, okay, so let's say out of the first half here, if we were to do it like normal here, out of the first half, you could take an x out of both of these. But if you do that in the second half, it's not going to be, you're not going to end up with the same thing in the parentheses. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to rearrange it to get it into an order where when we cut it in half, we're going to be able to factor out something that we end up with the same thing in parentheses. Okay, so to do that, and it takes some trial and error on this, but to do that, what we're going to do here is we are going to move the negative x squared up to the front. And then we have plus 5x. And then we'll have our 2xy. And then we'll have negative 10y. So then from there, we can cut it in half and do like what we did before. So what can we take out of both terms right here? We can take a negative x out of both. So negative x squared divided by negative x leaves you with x. And 5x divided by negative x leaves you with a negative 5. Okay, out of these two terms, what can we take out? We can take a 2 out of both, and we can take a y out of both. So 2xy divided by 2y leaves you with x, and negative 10y divided by 2y leaves you with a negative 5. So now the parentheses are both the same here. So we can put these two terms together. So we have negative x plus 2y. We have x minus 5. And that's our final answer. Okay, on 16, same thing. Okay, if you cut it in half the way that it is, you're not going to be able to get the same thing to start off with. Okay, so what you want to do here actually is you really want to put it in standard form. And so that means that you want to move the u squared up, then you have your u, then you have the v's after that, so uv and then v. So we have negative u squared, negative u plus uv plus v. Then from there, cut it in half. What can we take out of both of these? We can take a negative u out. So negative u squared divided by negative u is u. Negative u divided by negative u is 1. Out of the second half, what can we take out of both of these terms? We can take a v out. uv divided by v is u. V divided by v is 1. Okay, and then these two are the same, so then we can put it together. We have negative u plus v. We have u plus 1. Okay, 17, so we want to put it in standard form. Okay, so we have 12m squared. We have 3m. We have 28mn, and we have 7n. And then from there, cut it in half and then do the same thing that we have been doing. Okay, on 18 to put it in order here. Okay, on this one, we actually aren't putting it in standard form. So this one, you really just have to do trial and error to figure out what's the best way to rearrange it. If we put these two terms together, so we have 10ab, and then we have minus 15a, and then we have negative 14b plus 21. Okay, so a lot of these, if you put them in standard form, it'll work, but sometimes it doesn't always work that way, so you just want to figure out what's the best way to be able to get the same thing in parentheses. Okay, and like I said, it's just trial and error. So then from there, you'll just cut it in half and do like what we did. Okay, all right, so this is factoring polynomials with 4 terms, which is called the grouping method.